Welcome in, everybody. Welcome to Watercooler Quarterback, where we act like we know things about football. My name is Andrew, and you may have seen the runtime of this video and realized that things are a little bit different than what you're used to. If you've been watching this channel for any length of time, you'll know that, try and keep the videos to a nice, concise 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes. But we're trying something a little different. And we're going to go with more of a kind of conversational, laid back maybe, type of podcast style of an episode where we take some more time, go a little more in depth with analysis, talk about kind of what's going on around the league, and analyzing some of the games, stuff like that. So we've got a lot to talk about today. But before we get into it, I just want to kind of get the vibe on and talk to you about why I'm doing it this way. I'm trying something new. I'll admit I'm a little nervous for the first episode of this, but I think it could be a lot of fun. I named this channel Watercooler Quarterback because that's exactly kind of what it was supposed to be. Is you gather around with your coworkers around the water cooler to discuss the game. And so trying something new, less quick cuts and direct information. A little more laid back, a little easier. So we'll see how it goes. This might be the new format going forward. We'll have to wait and see. If this is kind of to give you a little idea of my general plan with it, this would ideally be coming out on Wednesdays. So this one will probably be coming out on Saturday. Thursday night football will have already happened. I'm recording this one on a Wednesday, so I'm not sure how the Bengals and Ravens game went. You guys, of course, will know that by the time this video comes out. But ideally, these videos will start coming out on Wednesdays, so you can watch it kind of leading up to the weekend slate of games. But with all that out of the way, we have got a lot to talk about. And we're going to go ahead and just jump right into it. And the first thing we're going to talk about today is the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots, wow, how the mighty have fallen. The Patriots are currently 2-8. They're on a 3-game losing streak, and they are in last place in the AFC. Not just the AFC East, their own division, but no, rather the entire AFC itself. And don't get me wrong, I love being able to say that the Patriots are terrible. And I think a lot of other football fans have been fed up with the Patriots for some time. 20 plus years of dominant play, just dashing the hopes and dreams of so many teams throughout that multi-decade span where they had, Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. It's fun to be able to say that they're bad, but I also want to be very clear that I don't root for failure. I think that the NFL is at its best when everyone is performing to the best of their ability. And there's a lot of things going on with this team that we can talk about. But the main thing I want to talk about with the Patriots is that you got to feel for Mac Jones. Mac Jones, obviously, this is his third year, and it seems like the team has just completely given up on him. If you didn't watch, it was very early game this past weekend. Patriots were taking on the Colts over in Frankfurt, Germany, and it's my understanding that Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, made it clear to Bill Belichick and kind of by extension to the rest of the team, this is a game that needs to be won. I guess Kraft has been wanting to get the team over in Germany for some time and desperately wanted a win over there for his Patriots. And the game was not great. I'll be super honest. I believe the final score of it was 10-6 in the Colts' favor. But in that game, we saw the coaching staff for the Patriots just completely give up on Mac Jones. Bill O'Brien, the offensive coordinator, is just berating him on the sidelines. And he didn't play well. He did not play great. He's not playing at a starting quarterback level in the league. His best year was by far his rookie year. And we were all kind of hoping, because last year he didn't have a proper offensive coordinator. He had a defensive guy running the offense, that, maybe bringing in an offensive guy is what the Patriots need in order to get the old Mac Jones back. But he seems just completely broken. He threw multiple interceptions, and one was, or at least one key interception, just a terrible underthrow. Had his tight end, either Gesicki or Hunter Henry, wide open in the end zone. Could have taken the lead late in the fourth quarter. They had it. And he just underthrows them, throws it right to a Colts defender, and that about seals the game. But doesn't quite seal the game, because the Patriots get the ball back around the 2-minute mark in the fourth quarter. Still, of course, needing a touchdown. And Mac Jones is benched, and he has to sit on the sideline as Bailey Zappi goes out there. And Bailey Zappi goes out there, and what does he do? Throws an interception. I don't really understand the mindset or the goal behind benching Mac Jones there. I think even if he's not having a good game at the time, I mean, the Patriots are 2-7. I don't know what they're gaining by throwing Zappi out there to lead a game-winning drive. If you want to make the switch to Zappi, okay. But I think in that situation, throwing a guy out there that hasn't played all game to lead one drive is ridiculous. I think the guy that gives you the best opportunity to win that game is Mac Jones. So him being benched, I thought, was just very strange. So between that and him just getting absolutely lambasted on the sidelines by his OC, things are not looking great in New England. And I also want to point out that I don't think it's all Mac Jones's fault. The team around him is not stellar. And to be totally honest, we've kind of talked about Bill Belichick's time potentially being up in New England, and I think that might really start becoming true. Early on in the season, if not right before I made the video of head coaches on the hot seat, and like I said in a subsequent video, that I threw Bill Belichick on there as kind of a hot take, but it's becoming more and more clear that I think he's done. I don't think he'll be fired mid-season. I think he's done enough for the team to earn a proper send-off, but I do not see Bill Belichick coaching the Patriots in 2024. Absolutely not. I also don't see Mac Jones being the quarterback in 2024, but we'll see. I think a lot of what's going wrong is Bill Belichick just being insistent on doing things the Patriot way. How many times have we heard about the Patriot way? The fact of the matter is, the Patriot way doesn't work without Tom Brady. Having your quarterback with less than stellar wide receivers, guys that by definition play the position but are not elevating the offense, hiring guys that are your old school Patriot staff rather than developing and adapting and becoming a new team, it's just not working. And so the Patriots are at a spot where I don't really know what you do from here outside of clean house at the end of the season and try and find a new identity in 2024. So, it's tough. They're in a tough situation, and now there's talk that Mac Jones has completely lost the locker room and may not even be the starter going forward. So it sounds like Bailey Zappi might be in line for the starting job in New England. All right, but now, okay, so we've gone through some of the doom and gloom. I don't want to focus on the negative too much. I've got some stats that I want to give out to you. We're moving on from the Patriots. Some stats I want to read off to you, and let's talk about a player that is making some waves around the NFL. There is only one player in NFL history with three straight games of 10 plus receptions and 150 plus receiving yards. That is a heck of a stretch. 3 straight games, each game having 10 plus receptions and 150 plus yards is insane. So who could that be? That could be maybe a Jerry Rice. That could be someone like Megatron, or maybe one of the modern greats like Devontae Adams or Justin Jefferson. Nope. It's none of those guys. No, it is one CeeDee Lamb of the Dallas Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb has been playing absolutely out of his mind, especially the last couple of weeks. He is third in receiving yards, and seriously deserves to be in the same conversation as guys like Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. A.J. Brown on the Eagles, of course, has had his ascension this year. A.J. Brown's always been really good, and has really made his presence known this year as one of those top-tier receivers. And CeeDee Lamb, I think because he's on the Cowboys, always gets kind of a bad rap, because people just naturally love to hate on the Cowboys. But the fact of the matter is, CeeDee Lamb is playing absolutely crazy. And a lot of that has to do with Dak Prescott playing absolutely crazy. But this past week, it wasn't just CeeDee Lamb either. All of the wide receivers were really getting involved. Brandon Cooks in one game had more receiving yards than he had up until that point all season long. I think he had somewhere like 150 receiving yards through the first half of the season, and then just last week he put up like 174 or something like that. Just insane numbers, and that is all due to Dak Prescott, and this offense is clicking. The Cowboys obviously had a horrific loss to the San Francisco 49ers, but since then have really been putting things together. And yes, they did lose to the Eagles, but, we always kind of joke like, oh, is this the Cowboys' year? I'm not saying it's the Cowboys' year just yet. I don't know if I'm prepared to say that, but you might be on the lookout for these guys. The Cowboys are here to play. They have got a cupcake schedule coming up. Just super easy matchups. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Cowboys' schedule. They are going against the Panthers next. So you might go ahead and chalk that up as a win. That is this Sunday. They are also going to be playing Washington, who is doing pretty well, but is not, not super top tier. Seattle, very respectable, but I think they can win that game. And then they've got Philadelphia again. So, Philly in that time has got some significantly harder opponents. And I think that the Cowboys are well set up for a good little run of wins here. So it'll be interesting to see how the NFC East plays out. People will inevitably say it's the Cowboys. They'll find some way to screw it up. That's totally possible. But I would keep an eye on the Cowboys because I think they're doing pretty well this year. And next up, I'm going to throw out some more stats with some mystery players. We're going to be looking at 2 quarterbacks right here. I'm going to give you some of their season-long stat totals, and I'm also going to give you their record up until today. So we're going to have quarterback A, quarterback B, and then we're going to look at their win-loss record, and we're going to try and figure out which quarterback has which record. Okay? So quarterback A. Quarterback A has a 61.3% completion percentage. It's not terrible, but not really anything to write home about, right? That's a little over 3 in every 5 passes is a completion. He's got 1,616 passing yards through 9 games. He's got 6.4 yards per attempt, only 6 touchdowns so far on the season to 4 interceptions, and a passer rating of 81.1. Meanwhile, quarterback B has got 67.1% completion percentage. That's 2 in every 3 passes getting completed. Quarterback B has got 2,349 yards passing, along with 7.3 yards per attempt and 17 touchdowns to only 5 interceptions. Now, clearly, we've got 2 very different quarterbacks here, right? The stats are very lopsided, all in one guy's favor. But I want to go ahead and point out the records. So we are going to try and figure out which record goes with which guy. One of these quarterbacks is on a team that is 6-3, and the other is on a team that is 4-5. I'm going to let you take a second to think which quarterback would be which team. Now, those with some critical thinking skills out there might be able to put 2 and 2 together that because I'm asking this question, it's probably not what you expect. On paper, it seems like the quarterback with the better stats should be 6-3, right? And that the guy with the worst stats would have the losing record, being below 500. But truth is, it's not the case. Yeah, indeed, we are talking about Kenny Pickett of the Pittsburgh Steelers and Justin Herbert of the LA Chargers. The Steelers, with a quarterback that is playing significantly worse, have a winning record. And not just a winning record, they're 3 games above 500. They're currently in the playoffs. The Steelers are this weird, confusing, like, their offense makes no sense, and yet they are winning games. In every game so far this season, the Pittsburgh Steelers have been outgained, meaning they are allowing their opponent to get more yards than they are picking up. And yet somehow they're winning. I don't get it. Every single game, your offense is less capable than the opposing offense, and you're still winning games. I digress. The Chargers, with a significantly better quarterback in Justin Herbert, you know, the difference in yards passing, the touchdown to interception ratio, yards per attempt, better in every single one of these categories, are 4-5. And I've never seen a more perfect example of why wins should not be a quarterback stat. For some reason, wins always get attributed to the starting QB, even if he gets knocked out in the first play of the game. As far as I understand, technically speaking, the Jets beating the Bills in week 1 where Aaron Rodgers got hurt, that win goes to Aaron Rodgers. That makes absolutely no sense. This guy didn't play more than 4 snaps, right? But he gets the win for that because he was a starting QB. Wins being a QB stat makes absolutely no sense. But I wanted to go ahead and take a look at why exactly there is such a difference here, and why the better quarterback has the significantly worse record. And it's really quite simple. It comes down to defense, right? The old saying of, you know, offense wins games, defense wins championships. Well, apparently offense doesn't even win games anymore. So I don't know what to do with that. But Kenny Pickett on the Steelers is benefiting from a top 10 defense. Meanwhile, the Chargers' overall defense is ranked 22nd in the league. In fact, the Chargers' passing defense specifically, not just the overall defense, but their passing defense, is 31st in the league. There's literally only one team worse at defending the pass than the Chargers. And I've been saying this for a very long time. And I want to be clear, I'm not calling for anybody's job. I'm not trying to get anybody fired. I don't think the LA Chargers are going to be watching my podcast and make any of their staffing decisions based on that anyway. But the fact is the Chargers have a defensive-minded head coach that has one of the worst defenses in the league. I don't know how Brandon Staley is still in charge of this team. I don't know, and maybe it's just not getting out. Maybe it just hasn't been reported. I don't know how this guy hasn't lost the locker room. Playing against the Lions this past week, the Chargers got off to a little bit of a slow start, but quickly that game became, it didn't even look like football. It started to look like a basketball game where, you've got two teams with great three-point shooters just trading baskets on each end. These offenses were lighting it up. Justin Herbert had, I believe, 4 touchdowns in this game. He played out of his mind. But again, the Chargers lose. They keep losing in these one-score close games, and it's just starting to get a little bit ridiculous. I mean, at a certain point, you just got to think, like, why can't we get some wins for this guy? I mean, we just talked about how wins should not be quarterback stats, but they are. So how is it that Justin Herbert has as bad of a record as he does? Why is he constantly on a team that can't finish, that can't get it done? You can look at Justin Herbert and say that some of it's his fault. I'm not going to say he's been perfect to every single game, but a game where your quarterback gets 4 touchdowns, you should be winning that game. Like, point blank. There's no excuse for it. If your coach is defensive, is defense focused and can't get the defense to work, why is he there? Like, that this needs to be fixed. Brandon Staley, I don't know. I personally have been kind of fed up with Brandon Staley for some time now. I think you've got the heir apparent to the head coaching position in LA already on the team. Kellen Moore, great offensive coordinator over in Dallas last year. Obviously has got a good offense here in LA. Just make him the head coach. It doesn't seem that complicated to me, but something's going to have to change. I think back to 2021 week. Did they have 17 games in a season at that point? Whatever it was, the last game of the season, the Chargers were playing the Raiders, and if the two teams tied, they both got to go to the playoffs. If one team won and the other lost, one would go to the playoffs, the other would miss out. It's the end of the game. The clock is running down. The Raiders have the ball. The clock is running, and the Raiders seem content to take the tie, and both teams go to the playoffs. Great, awesome. Brandon Staley calls a timeout. Why? Why call a timeout? And I'm not trying to rehash old stuff. I'm just pointing out that, like, this has been going on for a long time. He calls a timeout. The Raiders run a play, get into field goal range, kick a game-winning field goal, and that's game. Raiders win, Chargers lose, Chargers miss the playoffs. Okay, last year, go up 27-0 over the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville. You can't win that game. Your defense can't stop Trevor Lawrence and the Jags from coming back from that deficit. And you might also point at the offense, that the offense can't score enough points to keep the Jags down. That's fair too. But, like, this has been going on for a long time. This isn't new. So Chargers are in a real tough spot. But another team that's in a tough spot? The Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns, news breaking today, at least day of recording, that Deshaun Watson is out for the year, needing season-ending shoulder surgery. Apparently, he's been having trouble with his shoulder for the majority of the season. He's sat out for it a couple times already. But apparently the injury happened here in the second quarter of last week's game against the Ravens, which means this guy fought through the injury and in the second half went 14 for 14 with a fractured throwing shoulder in the second half. And, credit to him. That's some tough guy stuff. I probably couldn't do that if my shoulder was fractured. And look, it's hard to really say anything positive about Deshaun Watson at this point, given everything that's happened. I'm no fan of his, but I also don't root for injury, right? I'm not happy when a guy gets his season ended because his shoulder is all out of whack. I'm not trying to say like, oh no, he, is so great. I wish he could keep playing. No, but he's the starting quarterback of a team that is rolling right along, is currently in the playoffs if the season ended today, and has suffered a serious injury. That's unfortunate, regardless of who it is or what their past entailed. But so this sucks. This sucks for the Cleveland Browns, no doubt about it. And it's looking like rookie Dorian Thompson-Robinson is going to be taking over the quarterback position, which I think is a little strange. He's had only one start this year, and it didn't go real well. They also have PJ Walker on the roster, but I guess at this point they're kind of just like they know what they have with PJ. So you might as well see what you got in the rookie. If things work out, great. If they don't, well, at least we kind of got our answer on the QB spot. So, but given everything that's happening, I really think they wish they had Josh Dobbs still. You'll remember that Josh Dobbs was a Cleveland Brown to start the season, or at least, through training camp and all that good stuff, before getting traded to Arizona. And with the way he's been playing lately, I'm sure the Browns wish that they still had him. But I tweeted out this morning that, of course you can't predict injuries. But this injury just, compounded with everything that happened last year, just continues to make the contract and the trade for Deshaun Watson look worse and worse. Let's go through what exactly the trade compensation and his contract was. Deshaun Watson was originally a Houston Texan, wanted out of Houston, was forcing his way out, wanted to trade prior to all of the civil lawsuits against him. But ended up going for the Browns gave up 3 first-round picks. 3 first-round picks. 1 third-rounder and 2 fourth-rounders. In order to that's what the Browns gave up in order to acquire him. That's 3 first-round picks, a third-rounder, and 2 fourth-rounders. And I think in return, of course, they get Watson and I think like a 7th-rounder. That's a lot. That is a lot of draft capital. That is 6 picks over the course of a handful of years. And then as soon as he lands in Cleveland, they proceed to give him an unprecedented $230 million contract, fully guaranteed. Fully guaranteed. And all of that money, all of those draft picks so far have got them 12 games. 12 games, not even a full season. Throughout 2 years, he was suspended for much of last season. So he only played 6 games last year. And then because of injury, he only played 5 or 6 games this year. You give up 6 draft picks, including 3 first-rounders. You have an unprecedented, highly criticized $230 million contract for this guy that is going through all those civil lawsuits and everything like that, knowing he's going to get suspended, and this is all you've got for it, right? He barely played last year, barely played this year. Now he's going to have season-ending shoulder surgery, and is supposedly going to be ready for next year. But you start to wonder, like, he started to look like the old Deshaun Watson, like he started to look good, but you start to think, is he ever going to get back to where he was? Because he was so rusty coming back from his suspension. Everyone was like, this dude's done. He is cooked. There's no way he's going to return to his, previously elite QB status. And while I don't think he got anywhere near who he used to be, he was starting to get better, but now another year off of the field. I mean, it's not like riding a bike, guys. This is a diminishable skill. I'm really worried for Cleveland here, and I'm just gutted for their fans. You trade for a guy, you think you're going all in. You've got a great defense, a championship defense, and this happens. That is just really unfortunate. Yeah, man, it stinks. I don't want to say that this is the worst trade in the history of the NFL. There have been some pretty bad ones, but certainly not looking good for Cleveland. Houston definitely came out on top. It doesn't help the fact that Houston has another one of Cleveland's first-round picks this year, and they're rolling. I mean, the Texans are looking great. C.J. Stroud is phenomenal. We'll talk about him in a bit, but yeah, this not a good look. Not good for Cleveland here. But I mentioned Josh Dobbs just a moment ago in talking about the Browns, and I want to go ahead and talk about this guy for a bit. Because he is one of the most fun, one of the most exciting stories and narratives to follow in the NFL today. Simply put, it is so much fun to root for this guy. He's been on, from what I can remember, more teams than you can count on one hand within the last calendar year. Started the season off as a Cleveland Brown throughout training camp and all of that stuff before the Cardinals traded for him. And on very short notice, he was the starter. Kept the Cardinals competitive in a lot of the games. Ended up, leading them to a win over the Dallas Cowboys, which was awesome. But I mean, moreover than just, he's this guy that came in and was in a tough situation and made the best of it. But, he's literally a rocket scientist. He's been deemed the Pastronaut, because I think he's like working with NASA on things, which is super cool. And he's just like the nicest, funniest dude. His time in Arizona, of course, early on in the season, he went to go get a jersey for his family, one of his jerseys from the pro shop, and they didn't have one. And just, he had some fun with that. He's just like the most likable dude, and he's just so much fun to root for. So I've got like no skin in the game in the NFC North. I do not care who wins that division or anything like that. I'm like, unless they're playing the Cardinals, I'm perfectly cool, rooting for the Minnesota Vikings, because I love rooting for Josh Dobbs. Ever since he got traded to the Vikings, he wasn't even going to be their starter the week that he got there, but was thrust into the spotlight when their starter got hurt early on in the game. He didn't even know the names of his offensive linemen, guys, and he is practicing his cadence with them on the sidelines so that they can know when to hike the ball and when to start the play. And so he leads just this heroic effort in that game to get an awesome win for Minnesota. And, I think I and probably a lot of other people were like, that's awesome. That's a fun story. But, is it going to be sustainable? Is that something they could keep going? He won another game for the Vikings this past weekend, in week 10, won another game for him. Like, let's go. Josh Dobbs is making himself money because he will either be, a starter for a team next year, or at the very least, a very serviceable backup on a team that, just wants some insurance at the QB spot. I honestly wanted him to stay in Arizona. I think he and Kyler play relatively similar games, so I would have loved for him to stay in Arizona. I understand why he was traded. You have an opportunity to get some draft compensation for a guy. Pull the trigger. I get it. But man, I just freaking love Josh Dobbs. He is so much fun to root for. So it is what it is. He's not a Cardinal anymore, but maybe in the future he comes back to the desert. So, but moving on to the Cardinals, of course, got to talk about them here. What being a Cardinals fan and all. But seeing Kyler out there on the field in week 10, playing like the injury never even happened, was so much fun. It was so cool. I enjoyed it more than I can express. And not just that he's out there playing, because his rehab from his knee injury has been well documented. The Cardinals have covered a lot of it. There have been all kinds of videos of, his process to get back, all the work he's been doing. It makes me so happy to see him out there playing. And not just playing, but playing well. Like I just said, he is playing as if the injury never even happened. He's running around like his ACL was never an issue. And that's awesome. That is awesome to see, because for so long, he was put through the ringer, all of the Call of Duty jokes, the, study clauses in his contract, the, comments on his height, all this stuff, his poor leadership, this, that, and the other, everything. I mean, and he wasn't able to be out there to defend himself. And now that he has played a game and won it, and it's not like the rest of the team carried him. Dude, he played that game. He won that game for that team. I haven't heard any criticism of this guy. Not one bit, because no one can say a word. People forget so quickly how good Kyler Murray was. And especially, you look at the landscape of the NFC right now, there's not a lot of good quarterbacks. Okay? I mean, you got like Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott in the East. Okay? Sam Howell looks like he's coming along pretty good, but I don't think Daniel Jones is it. Obviously, his backup, Tommy DeVito, not it. Derek Carr, Jameis Winston with the Saints, they're fine. Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke in Atlanta, you got two quarterbacks, you don't have any. Baker with the Buccaneers has been pretty good, but I'd certainly take Kyler over him. Bryce Young is struggling in his first year. Justin Fields, Jordan Love, Jared Goff is playing really well. Kirk Cousins, of course, got hurt, but and then there's the NFC West. Matt Stafford probably isn't going to be playing that much longer, I can't imagine. Brock Purdy is solid. He's really good. And Geno Smith, sometimes I watch him and he's kind of up and down. But, he's good. But Kyler Murray is above a lot of those quarterbacks. The NFC quarterback picture compared to the AFC, I mean, the NFC quarterbacks don't hold a candle to the AFC quarterbacks. You could, I would say over half the AFC quarterbacks are good to great to elite, right? That is not the case in the NFC. So in the NFC, Cardinals got a guy in Kyler Murray. Dude, like, they're set. That's all you need is a really solid quarterback, especially in a quarterback wasteland that is the NFC. So I'm just so happy he's back. People forget how good he is, and I'm happy that they're being reminded how good he is. And I also want to call attention to that last drive, that game-winning drive, 3rd and 10, right? 3rd and 10 right around midfield. Guy's bearing down on him, scrambles out of it, runs for like 60-plus yards, well over half of which is behind the line of scrimmage, just getting away from a would-be sack. As he's doing that, runs right past the spot where he tore his ACL 11 months prior. And I don't know if I'm just biased because I'm a Cardinals fan, but that kind of gives me goosebumps. The symbolism of that, that's a gotta have it 3rd down. That is an important, crucial drive. Running past that point on the field where he tore his ACL prior, putting that behind him. That's in the past now. We're not worried about that. He's literally got his back turned to that as he runs past that, keeps the drive alive with a crucial first down, and leads the team on a drive where Matt Prater can get the game-winning field goal. I mean, that's awesome. That is just so cool. So I freaking love that, and I think that's worth pointing out. Cardinals have got a tough game ahead of them this week, for sure, going up against the Houston Texans. And let's go ahead and talk about the Texans for a bit. We have talked about, if you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you know that CJ Stroud is freaking awesome. Okay, their rookie quarterback, I don't know if I've ever seen a team hit on their quarterback quite like the Texans have here. This guy is having a historic rookie season. And it's difficult for me as a Cardinals fan. I want the Texans to do poorly because we have their first draft pick in the next draft. So I want them to be as bad as possible, but I can't help myself in rooting for the Texans. CJ Stroud and the Texans are so much fun to watch. And, you know, as much as I want them to be bad, I just can't. I can't root against them. They're just so good. The Texans are instantaneously a very good football team with CJ Stroud at quarterback. It seems like every week we are finding a new way to kind of contextualize just how good he is, right? I mean, we started out saying, yeah, he's the best quarterback in the draft class, right? Bryce Young's not playing that well. Anthony Richardson gets hurt. Will Levis has barely seen the field. Okay, you know, we're pretty confident saying CJ Stroud is the best quarterback in this class. And then it moves a little deeper than that. Well, you know, he's playing pretty good for a rookie, right? He's playing pretty good. You know, we're pretty surprised. But then it became that, well, he's looking like an established veteran. You know, he's looking like a guy that's been in the league for a handful of years. And then it starts going even deeper than that maybe he's the best quarterback in his division. Now, he might be better than Trevor Lawrence. And, you know, we can sit and have that conversation all you want. I think he is. I mean, he's probably the best quarterback in his division. But we keep going. This guy has locked up Offensive Rookie of the Year. And now we're at the point, after his performance this past week against the Bengals, we might be talking about this guy in the MVP race. And to give you some context, some idea of how insane that would be, the last guy to win NFL MVP as a rookie was Jim Brown. Yeah, Jim Brown. Back in 1958. It will have been almost 70. It will have been 65 years since a rookie won NFL MVP. And quite honestly, looking around the league at all the quarterbacks, I mean, some of them are having good games here and there, and, you know, putting themselves as maybe the front runner for MVP, but CJ Stroud, I think, is in that conversation. People are saying that it's kind of crazy to be saying that. I don't think so. CJ Stroud is looking incredible. So, in my opinion, no doubt in my mind that CJ Stroud is in the conversation for MVP. Here's some of his numbers just to back that up. CJ Stroud is currently second in passing yards behind only Sam Howell, who has played an extra game. Sam Howell hasn't had his bye yet. So Sam Howell is currently the passing yards leader, but he's played 10 games. CJ Stroud is less than like 200 yards behind him, and he's only played in 9. He has a league best 2 interceptions on the year. Only 2 interceptions for a rookie. He is third in passing first downs. He's only a few touchdowns behind Tua, who is leading the league in touchdown passes. He is second in adjusted yards per attempt, and he's got multiple game-winning drives. He is also winning on the road against phenomenal teams. I mentioned that he played against the Bengals this past week. That's a team with a really, and I mean really good defense. Defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo not being able to take down C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud taking care of a Lou Anarumo defense, that's nuts. This guy is insane. He is phenomenal. One of the best quarterbacks in the league, like right off the bat. And I've not seen a rookie, performance like this. I don't think ever. I mean, his numbers are surpassing Andrew Luck. His numbers are surpassing, Cam Newton. This guy's ridiculous. And I think more than anything, we can put to rest all the conversation about the S2 cognitive test. That was the big controversy this offseason with CJ Stroud, was that he scored poorly on this cognitive test that's supposed to kind of give you an idea of how a quarterback is going to think, how quickly he's going to be able to make decisions in high-stress situations. And CJ Stroud didn't do well on it. I think that test is going to get retired at this point. Clearly, it doesn't mean much because CJ Stroud said, I'm not a test taker. I'm a football player. I don't take tests. I play football. So, and he's doing it. So more power to you, CJ, more power to you. And then I just want to touch real quick. The Bills are in a real tough spot. Ken Dorsey, offensive coordinator, fired. Josh Allen leads the league in interceptions. I don't know where you go from here if you're the Bills. I mean, I would say, you guys just lost to the Broncos, might as well hang it up. But the Broncos are slowly but surely becoming more and more respectable. So I don't know if I would necessarily, say that because you lost to the Broncos, the season is over. Hey, the Chiefs also lost to the Broncos, okay? But they are going to have to figure some things out because they are slowly but surely falling out of the playoff race. They're still in it, for sure. They can still get there. They're 5-5, and the Steelers are currently in the playoffs with a record of 6-3. So they're not that far out. But the way things are going, the way they're playing, I am worried about the Buffalo Bills. I don't know what is happening. I don't know why it's happening, but it's starting to become clear that their Super Bowl window is closing. And I think a couple years back, when they gave Patrick Mahomes the ball with 13 seconds left, I think that was I think that year was their best shot. And I don't think they've come as close as they came that year since then, to having a Super Bowl worthy team. Everybody crowned them last year. They went through a lot and didn't get there. This year, things are just not working out. All the drama with Stephon Diggs. I don't know the solution for this team. I really don't. I hope they figure it out. I want the best for Buffalo. I like Josh Allen, but yeah. You fire your offensive coordinator mid-season, things are probably not going great. So that's kind of that. But so that's a lot of what is going on in the NFL right now. I want to go ahead and take a look at this weekend's slate of games. Go ahead and make those picks. I will probably, like I said, this is the first week doing this style video, so I haven't got it all quite figured out yet. But I'm gonna try and find a way to still go ahead and make this a quick pick segment in the future. But for right now, we're just gonna go ahead and go through all of the games and chat about who I think is gonna win them and why. But before we do that, we of course have got to check in on the Watercooler Quarterback Pick'em League, because that has been going on all season long, and for the first time in a while, we have got a change at the number one spot. Yes, indeed. So for a while there, Football Americano was in first place. And finally, that throne has been taken by none other than Donzi Lee, who now has 91 games guessed correctly. Football Americano right behind with 900. Gridiron Warriors is one game behind him with 89. So the top three spots are all within 2 games of each other. So it's going to be an intense race towards the end of the season there. I'm still in fourth, a handful of games behind Gridiron Warriors, hoping and praying desperately that I can get up into that mix for that top spot. But let's go ahead and take a look at who is playing this week. Of course, like I said, this is being recorded prior to Thursday Night Football. My pick, we'll see if I'm right. You guys can tell me if I'm right or wrong. I'm going to go ahead and pick the Ravens. We said, it was announced that T. Higgins is not going to be playing for the Bengals. He's going to be out. It's being played in Baltimore. Both of these AFC North teams are coming off of a loss. So that is going to be, they're both going to be real hungry for a win. If the Bengals win this game, that's going to be huge for the division, right? The Bengals will improve to 6-4. The Ravens will fall to 7-4. Of course, they haven't had their bye yet. So the Bengals will be right back in this thing. The Cleveland Browns likely are kind of falling out of things, with the whole Deshaun Watson injury situation. So we'll see what happens. But I've got the Ravens. Hopefully I'm right. We'll see. Like I said, you guys already know the answer. Steelers and Browns. Steelers and Browns, without Deshaun Watson, going up against that Steelers defense, I've got the Steelers winning. We talked about Kenny Pickett's lack of production on offense, but I think he's going to be good enough to get the job done. This is going to be an ugly game, the more I'm thinking about it. These two defenses are, talk about stoppable force meets a movable object. Like these offenses are some stoppable forces, and the defenses are going to be locked down. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of points scored, but I do think the Steelers are going to come out on top. Bears at Lions. I don't think there's much to talk about here. Justin Fields should be back, but it's being played in Detroit. I've got Detroit winning that game. Chargers at Packers. This one, on paper, looks like the Chargers should win it. Do I have faith that the Chargers will win it? Not really. But I'd be silly to pick the Packers here. They have not been playing well. I do think the Chargers are going to win this game and improve to 500 on the season. If they don't, their playoff chances are going to really take a hit. Then we've got the Raiders heading to Miami to take on the Dolphins. The Raiders have had some magic the past couple of weeks. After getting rid of head coach Josh McDaniels, they're dancing in the locker room. They're having cigars in the locker room. They are just having the best time. And it looks like under head coach Antonio Pierce, things are much, much better. However, they are going up against the Dolphins. I think some of that, I don't want to call it beginner's luck, but I think that magical little run that they went on with interim head coach Antonio Pierce is going to come to an end. So I do have the Dolphins winning this game. And I'm just really thankful that Josh McDaniels has been fired at this point because, McDaniel versus McDaniels, that's just confusing on the coaching side of things. So thankfully there's only one McDaniels in this game. And then we have got the Giants taking on the Washington Commanders. They are rolling out Tommy DeVito again because Daniel Jones is out for the season, and I don't really know what's going on with Tyrod Taylor, but as far as I understand, he's still injured. Giants taking on Commanders. The Commanders looked really good against the Seahawks. Almost took home a win in Seattle. So I've got to imagine that they're going to take home the W against the Giants here. I will ask again for the next game the same question I asked last week. Dallas Cowboys taking on the Carolina Panthers. Last week I said, what do you think? And kind of the same situation here. Do we really think the Cowboys are going to lose to the Panthers? No. Did we think that they were going to lose to the Cardinals? No, that still happened. So there is a chance. I mean, it's being played in Carolina, right? So Panthers have a shot here. I don't think much of a shot. I am taking the Cowboys. Now we've got the Tennessee Titans taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't think the Jaguars are going to come out looking like they did last week, 2 weeks in a row. This is a team that had one of the longest win streaks in the NFL. Right? Nobody has had a win streak longer than 5 games all season long. Did the Eagles go 6-0? I don't know. The point is, they were on a serious hot streak before the bye. And I mentioned in the last Pick'em video that they probably wanted to have that bye later in the season when they didn't have all this momentum. And that came back to bite them. So I think that they will refocus, and I think that they will figure things out and be able to beat the Tennessee Titans. So I've got Jags over the Titans. Cardinals at Texans. I mean, we spent a good portion of this video talking about just how good CJ Stroud is. But you know what? Cardinals got Kyler Murray back. Cardinals have James Conner. Hopefully they can get guys like Michael Wilson more involved. Trey McBride looked awesome this past week at the tight end spot. Fun fact for you. That is the first time, last week's game against the Falcons was the first time the Cardinals have had a tight end. It's the first time the Cardinals have had a tight end reach 100 receiving yards in a game since, I think it was 1989. I'll double check that date and I'll put the different date on the screen here if I'm wrong. But 1989, they have not had a tight end reach 100 receiving yards since 1989. That's ridiculous. And Trey McBride just did it this past week. So kudos to him. I'm going to pick the Cardinals here. I don't care if it ends up costing me a point. I'm just having, I'm having fun here. Love rooting for my team. So we're going to go ahead and take the Cardinals in Houston against the Texans. And if they win that game, oh my God, I'm going to be so excited because the Texans look great. And that'll mean the Cardinals are all the way back. Then we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the San Francisco 49ers. I think that one, there's not a lot to say there. It's in San Fran. I think the Niners take that one with relative ease. The Jets visiting the Buffalo Bills. I had originally picked the Bills, and I do think that's the smart choice. However, I'm going to go ahead and pick the Jets here. And the reason for that is chaos. All right? The NFL is chaos. I think that all of the turmoil going on with the Buffalo Bills right now, all of the craziness, change at the offensive coordinator position, all of the turnovers that Josh Allen is having, going up against a Jets defense that is ridiculous. I've got the Jets winning this game against all odds. I mean, they won last time. I don't know, dude. I've got a feeling in my gut that the Jets are going to win this game. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if the Bills lose? That's not going to be good. That's going to be real bad. I've got the Jets winning. I could be wrong, but chaos. Seahawks visiting the Rams. It's a division matchup, much like Jets and Bills. So that's going to be, that always makes things a little strange. I'm going to go ahead and pick the Seahawks here. I do think they are just objectively the better team. Matthew Stafford should be back, so that should even things out a bit. He's throwing to Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Could be a good challenge for that Seattle defense, but that Seattle defense is really, really good. I think Seattle takes this one. Minnesota Vikings at the Denver Broncos. I mean, who did we talk about today? We talked about Josh Dobbs. I think Josh Dobbs is going to get the job done, and I am very excited for him to continue that run. So I'm picking the Vikings over the Broncos here. But the Broncos, like I said, they're getting more and more respectable. And then finally, finishing off the week with Monday Night Football. This might be the best primetime game of the year, at least on paper. We've got the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. It is a rematch of the past year's Super Bowl, and this could almost not be closer on the Pick'em League. Currently, the Eagles have 49% of the vote, and the Chiefs have 51%. I'm going to go ahead and say that the Eagles win this game and flip the script from last year's Super Bowl. I think the Eagles can do it. The Chiefs' offense has not been playing as well as we are accustomed to. Their defense has been coming up big and playing very, very well, keeping them in games. But the Eagles, I think, are coming off their bye and are just going to be clicking on all cylinders. The Chiefs also are coming off their bye, for the record, but I think the Eagles' offense and defense are both playing very well. So I'm going to go ahead and say that Philly gets revenge for last year's Super Bowl and comes out of Monday Night Football with a win. And that is all I've got for you today, folks. I hope you enjoyed the new format for the video. Obviously, at the time of recording this, I haven't edited it yet, but I had a lot of fun with this. I think that it was pretty cool. I think we're able to go a little more in-depth, keep it a little more conversational. I think it was pretty fun. If you have stuck around all the way to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. I think this might be how we go about things, at least for a little bit. We'll see, if this can be a consistent thing, if we like it, and then we'll go from there. So as of right now, I like it. I think this is what we're going to go with. But my name is Andrew. This is Watercooler Quarterback. We talked about a whole bunch of stuff today. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next episode. See you later. Bye-bye.